am so excited today. Little Tommy, Rusty Nails. I'm Sully. On the air is on the air. Good to see you. Can you believe that I've got bookends of my career coming in studio today.
I'm working for the city of Del Mar.
Wait a minute, hold on a second. Before I start this, that does say City of Del Mar Public Works.
Yeah. Well, I did some work with the. Let's just move on. Anyway, yeah, I got it.
Tell us about the shirt.
I acquired the shirt. That's all I'm going to say.
Did you?
That's all I can say.
Did you find the shirt?
Nope.
Did you? Well,
he was handed the shirt.
You didn't buy the shirt.
Ooh, I like this game. It's 2 syllables.
He was handed it.
Looks like you're looking for a vein.
No, I did. No, I do some work for the communities around the city, and sometimes they reward me with.
Sometimes you have to work.
Yeah.
For the city.
I got a nice hat, Del Mar Fire Department hat and all that stuff.
That's a City of Del Mar Public Works shirt.
Right.
Don't you think they're going to come looking for that because well, you're on TV, Russ?
Well, I tell you, because I live near the beach of Del Mar, and during this shutdown, I have ticketed people. I have, I accept $20, to just go away. So it's actually
fines. Oh, you
no.
that? Oh,
here's what happened. I found it on a railroad track with this. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It was brand new in a bag, just sitting there. I washed it and I wear it.
I see you riding your bike through Del Mar in that.
Perfect.
This is the bike riding shirt, and I'm here to promote bike riding because Bob does it for professional reasons and fundraising. Huh?
I don't know what you're talking about.
When you ride your bike down the coast.
For Challenge
Athlete, yeah.
Okay. Yes,
so,
that's
yeah.
exactly right.
Two great guests. So
bookends of my career. Let me explain this really quickly because Coe Lewis, when I first got into radio, someone had the great idea that I should try doing afternoons for a while on KGB. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how to work the board. Mm-hmm. All the stuff that I do here, Coe Lewis taught me. Inside of 1 week. Actually, inside of a couple days. And it's much more difficult there than what I got.
The new board?
Yeah, but she taught me how to run the board. I mean, I was like, hey, that's Coe Lewis. I've been listening to the girl for my whole life, and they've put me in a studio, and we're going to teach you how to do this.
And I have a Coe Lewis story. A long time ago when she was first on KGB, I was one of those guys that called her to say, hey, can you play Freebird? I love Coe Lewis.
Dan Freebird.
The fact that did you ever work with Coe?
Well, I've worked with her, but not on the air, no. But
I got to be on the air with her only because by default she was like, This is honestly 25 years ago when I first got into radio. She was doing, of course, the coaster in the afternoon.
She belonged to Little Television. She's a good-looking lady too, and on radio, great voice. And she was real good friends with someone I worked with, Sue Delaney, who came over to 91X. And
I believe that's who Coe probably idolized.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Sue Delaney?
Yeah.
Really?
That's my opinion.
There was similar.
I would argue that everyone idolized Coe.
But Sue, I think, was here prior to Coe.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's right. And my other bookend of my career is when I did talk radio I still do talk radio. But when I was doing afternoons, when we started the Recall Filner campaign, I had a couple of different engineers, and one of them was Beto Perez.
Wow.
Who was like the nicest guy. And the problem is, live television and talk radio runs a little hot sometimes because, you got to hit the brakes and it's like there's people calling in and stuff like that. And he was literally one of the nicest guys because sometimes the guys on the other side of the glass are not that nice. No, you are one. No, you are one.
How long ago was this when Beto ran your board?
2014.
And now look at him. And now,
Beto, 2014?
Yeah,
listen, now look at him. He was from running the board way back when.
He's huge.
Now he has his own morning show and
afternoon show, and he tours with a band. Wow. Yeah, that's it. Well, first of all, let's say hi to Coe.
Let's get Coe first.
Let's get Coe straight in here.
Yo, Coe!
Coe, get in here. Come on. There she is, Coe Lewis. Wow.
Sashay down the hallway into the studio.
This is radio royalty. There she is.
Look at the beautiful hair.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Coe's been here in studio for the Big Biz show.
Yes, she has.
I have.
I still get nervous around Coe.
Oh, he
I do.
Coe's the queen of KGB. The history of KGB. Coe.
Yeah. Thanks, you guys.
You are kind of KGB.
So nice to see you.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Do you remember when I tell that story about they paraded me in there and I at a different time and a different era. Do you remember teaching me how to run the board? Or is that too long ago?
Absolutely.
Do you really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Was he quick? Was he good?
Yeah, he was, and I remember he was just really a lot of fun, and he was just like, he just picked it up really quickly.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, he's got this
But
thing.
there's a lot of stuff goes on because FM and AM are two different things. See, I've run the board already on AM. We're done. This is talk radio.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. And then I got to do it again when we go for that. In FM is a whole, like you guys are conducting a symphony, and the problem is that on a show like yours, you have such a huge personality, but compared to talk radio, you're only talking for literally 10 minutes an hour
Maybe.
versus I get 40 minutes an hour in talk radio. That's a lot to do and create the whole persona.
Especially in the old days when you had CDs and you were playing carts, you really were working a bunch of mediums. And in the midst of it, you're trying to create some content and make it feel seamless. And you're like, oh, is it a cart? Am I playing a CD? Is it a
Am I
tape?
taking a call? Is it traffic
What am I
time?
doing?
Do I have to?
Speaking of calls, do you remember when I used to call and ask you,
Yes.
hey, can you play a song?
Yes, and you used to play rock quiz.
Really?
You would
Oh, yeah.
play, yeah, and he always won. He always knew
Were
the
you,
answer.
so were you on the radio yet?
I was already on the radio, but I would
Another station?
Yeah, and I would
in.
listen to
What do you
Coe. It all started with Sue Delaney.
Yeah.
Sue Delaney was everything, and we all had crushes on her. All the
Did
teenage
you have a crush on her when you worked with her?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we've got some great pictures if they want to file through there. It's Coe with another good-looking young lady. Black and white photos. Take a peek. Sue Delaney.
You were on the air with Sue. I remember the name
Yes.
Sue Delaney from 91X when I was listening to you.
Delaney and Nails.
KGB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then KGB hired
There
her.
it is, right there.
Yeah.
There
That
she
was
is.
That's
Robbie.
why I was calling her.
80s sometime, you think?
You know
Russ
what?
still wears those shorts that she's using.
But is it accurate to say, Coe, that she was probably someone that influenced your life?
Absolutely, because she had just this larger-than-life persona, but she was incredibly sweet. She was insecure, but very talented and so sweet. And I remember when I got to KGB, everybody thought, "Oh, there's another girl.
Yeah.
How's Sue gonna react?" And I just went in and I said, "Sue, I just love you. You're the reason why I'm here. I used to listen to you and John in a crossover." And I thought, I want to do radio. You inspired me to get into radio. So we became sisters. And
he shot a scene of the tiger.
yeah, Gina,
episode,
yeah. So anyway, I love her and I miss her so much. But
Yeah.
her influence in radio, especially in San Diego, is immense.
Because you guys both had that. Hi, I'm Coe Lewis.
Oh,
whoa.
Still has it. No, it's
Why do you think I'm wearing this shirt?
That's right.
That's exactly
We know why, too, on that, too, and I do want to talk to you about that later.
We're going to get to hear the entire story of Coe Lewis.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
We're going to keep her for a good portion of the show, but there's also on the other bookend of my career at the end.
Beto.
Perez.
He's
right?
awesome.
Let's go get Beto for a second.
Yeah.
Let's
We'll
just
switch
have-
seats.
I'm going to give him my seat.
You and your
Go give
kid.
your seat up for a second. Let's go sit at Beto just for 1 second.
Yeah.
Because Beto is.
There we go.
There he is. Okay.
Musical chairs.
There we go. All right, Coe, we'll see you in a second. Coe's coming back in just 1 second. There we go.
She kept it warm.
Dude, okay, first of all, who are you? I mean, I don't, like, you look, not that you didn't look respectable before, because I know you personally were very respectable.
Right.
Because you're a respectable guy. You and I spent a lot of time together.
A lot of time together.
On the, but you were always the nicest guy, but now you look like a nice guy.
Like a nice guy previous to that, dude.
I wanted to say
you're
this
angry.
before we
Look at
start.
that.
No,
What happened?
because if
What do
you
you
don't know Beto used to look like this. Guys,
Let's see
pull
it.
up.
Handsome.
Dude.
That's the Beto I know.
That's
My dreads, man.
serious
Like the
dread.
dude with the dreads coming in the studio on talk radio, AM
Talk
600.
Yeah, I've
which
always
was,
wondered
you know,
about
and I was,
dreads.
and I was always, you know.
I want dreads.
Talk to me, Russ.
So
Yeah,
first, wait a second.
how long does it take to
When
get
did
dreads
that
about
start?
that long? Yeah.
it was kind of it kind of evolved around radio. So when I graduated high school, I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do. I turned 18 years old, and I was like, hey, you know what? On my 18th birthday, I'm going to grow my hair long, and until I accomplish my goals, I'm not going to cut my hair.
Now, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in San Isidro, and I was born in Tijuana,
So you, but
right.
here in San Diego,
in the South Bay. Yes.
no kidding. So
Yeah.
me too. Okay.
As a matter of fact,
Julius
people-
Hospital.
Castle Park, but everyone would tell me that. Hey, do you know Beto? And I go, I haven't met him yet. They go, he gives a lot to the community. People
Yeah.
say that about you. You give a lot to the South Bay.
Yes,
As
I
a
do.
matter of fact, at a restaurant called El Pollo Grill, your mug is on a mural.
Along with yours, Tommy.
What happened?
And Joe Little, who so show that.
Get
Show
that
do you have
up
the mural
there.
up there, guys? I'd love to
I think
see
it was
what we got.
picture number 1. It led off.
Yeah,
the
there
whole
he goes.
thing.
There it is.
Look at
There
that.
you go. And that one had with the dreads. This is after I had cut my dreads, and they actually.
Little Tommy looks like Gary Sinise on the bottom there. Next.
All the famous local San Diegans.
Yeah.
South Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil Mickelson. Me and Russ didn't make it on there, but
Hey, you might be in the North
we
Carney.
got Tony Hunt.
Yeah.
Look at Joe Little. That looks like Joe Little. But we need to have Joe Little on the air here. Joe Little. Beto was our board op when Joe Little and I got our friends, and we did a show called Man Talk.
Yeah.
Like 1 hour of one night during week we did Man Talk.
Oh, that sounds
okay.
fun.
So let's go back because
Yes.
last time I saw. Well, I shouldn't say that. Last time I saw you, you were in your studio, but before then, you were an engineer.
Yeah.
You were pushing buttons, so when did it start? Before that?
I started working in radio when I was 17 years old. I started working at 92.5. I was still in high school, and became an operator. Worked for Javier the X-Men. Moved on. Started doing nights on Kiss FM. That became Jammin' 95.7. Then from there went on to do afternoons. Then came back to iHeart. Started doing afternoons for Rock 105.3.
Were you doing afternoons when you were doing boards at night too?
No, at that time, no PDs wanted to hear me out.
Because when you were with me,
Yeah.
which I'm going to call 2015,
2014, 2015, yes.
And you were the engineer. You were trying to get on. You were trying to get behind the mic.
I had already been on the air, and it was just so hard to get an on-air job, especially in this market.
Yeah.
I could have gone to another market, but there's nothing like San Diego. This is paradise.
Right.
This is home.
Wait. So you stayed in San Diego?
I stayed in San Diego.
That's
correct.
so cool.
Yeah.
And then when your first job, 92.5.
Correct.
Where was the studio back then?
It was in National City, and we got some
Awesome.
stories about that place.
And then were you on the air then? Did you get a chance to talk yet?
Yes, I did. I used to host Old School Block Party, which was Saturday nights, and then I would help produce the Quiet Storm. Which
Do
is
you
on
remember the very first moment you hit that on-air mic button?
I do.
Tell us about that. Tell us about that.
It was I was on from midnight to 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Hurricane Andrew was on right before me doing the live mix show. Keep in mind, I've never done live radio. It was always pre-recorded.
Really?
I told Hurricane, I said, Andrew, you mind sticking around, man? I said, I've never done radio before. You mind sticking around and helping me out? He stayed there for a good 2 hours, man. But
Only in radio do you just hear names like Cookie, Hurricane, Crash,
Omelet.
So that's kind of how it started, and I was on from midnight to 5, and then that's never changed. To this day, I still do Saturday nights. On a different
Midnight to
station.
5. I got my chops at KPRI as their midnight to 5 in the morning rolling discs, Rock and Religion.
Oh, yeah.
You did.
Rock
I never
and
heard
Religion.
this story. Wait a second.
And then they flipped it, or I flipped it over and put the needle down. Rock and Religion.
I worked midnight to 6 a.m. right after Shotgun Tom. Shotgun did Jukebox Saturday night on KBS 95, and then I would, from midnight to 6 a.m., I would run oldies and early Sunday morning run a religious disc.
Yeah.
Just proves to me that I have the luckiest radio career in the history of radio.
Yeah,
I was
hit
a
the
guest.
ground running.
I was a guest on a radio program. I got offered a morning slot on a small radio station, and then I got a call from Cliff Albert, and 6 months later I was on the radio. I mean, and by the way, I tell the story about Coe teaching me to learn the board. I was an idiot. I would show up with a piece of paper and a microphone, and can you turn this on? I mean, honestly, none of that stuff. And to hear your story, because I know Beto, there's a lot going on in producing not only somebody else's show or engineering somebody else's show, but doing your own stuff at the same time. You were never a guy that had just one job, were you?
Never, not to this day.
Wow.
I still have multiple jobs, but I will tell you something, Sully, and this is a story that I share with a lot of people, and I've never shared this with you because we haven't had the time to have a one-on-one conversation since, but you taught me a lot. I grew a lot from you, man. There was days where I was like, I'm not going in there, Sully, panicking, freaking out. But to this day, you still have my favorite talk show.
Really?
Yeah.
But you
You were
me
panicking, freaking out?
Oh yeah, bro. Yeah, that's Sully. Sully get
might
upset,
say-
throw his headphones, and I'm just being honest, Sully.
We've never seen that happen here. in the Happy
But that
Show.
taught me a lot. That taught me to be prepared. That taught me to be on time. It's taught
Do
me
your job.
Because
you're counted on to do the engineering side of it, and that's really important.
Yeah. So Sully, whether you know it or not, you played an important role in my life.
On what not to do.
When it came
And how not to act.
Fire up the love music over there. This is good.
Where did it come from? That's so cool about Sully. But
Yeah.
it had to have come from how you grew up, because today you're not just on Jammin' 95.7 in the morning. You're doing middays on Rock 105.3.
Right.
Okay. Not too many people in the country can say that.
Yeah.
In the same market.
Well, I love music, man. I grew up, my sisters played Oingo Boingo, Depeche Mode. Then I had my brother playing oldies. Keep in mind, I come from a family of 21 kids. I'm the 21st.
What? Wait.
Wow.
21.
My dad had 3 wives, 7 kids with each one.
God bless him.
You have 20 half step.
Well, I have
brothers.
7. I got 14 stepbrothers. We're all.
Now,
Family,
you keep it up to everybody? Is it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I love.
You give them all birthday cards? That would suck.
You know what? Thanks to Facebook, I do.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Where are you
I'm
on
the
the line?
21st kid. I'm the last one.
You're the last one?
Yeah.
See?
Mom says she stopped at perfection.
Best for last. That's all the babies in the family use that one.
Dude, we got to go back to this and talk about this.
Yeah.
One.
So with that said, man, Oingo Boingo was in my house. Then you had Tucanes. Mom played the cumbias while she cleaned the house.
All right.
My sister Gabby like Megadeth, AC/DC.
Wow.
So you
you were around
I'm a
it all.
melting pot. So playing hip hop and rock has been natural for me.
Right on, man.
Yep.
They must be proud of you.
I hope so.
Okay, so when
All
you said
21.
when you started in radio when you were 16.
Oh, was that 17 years?
17, what did you do? Were you a promotions guy?
No, not at all. I
threw
actually
you right in there.
I started being the stuntman for Greg and Delana when they were on 92.5.
Show tool.
I was that kid.
Oh, yeah.
But I was in it to win it, man, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I was lucky enough to get that opportunity because not many get that opportunity.
Was that Magic 92.5?
Correct.
And then it was Greg Delana and Chris.
Greg Delana and
Chris
Chris
Wilcox.
had just left probably like a month when I
Came
came
over
in.
to me because he came over to the Planet because he was on with me and Woody.
The Planet was still around?
Oh yeah, we were right in the middle of it.
I remember the Planet from Imperial Beach Sandcastles
that's
every
right.
year.
That's so. It's so funny how just connected all these shows are.
Yeah.
Because what's amazing, because we've had Delana Bennett in here to
Yeah.
talk
I love
about.
Delana. I'm so blessed to have Delana in my life. She saved me.
So I have to ask this question. So when you said you were the stuntman, what did they make you do?
You know what?
Pudding pants?
The one that close enough. You know what? The very first time I got to do something wild was
Had to do something wild.
Pride Parade.
Okay.
Now they made me into a dancing disco ball. So I had a costume of a big disco ball.
Sure.
I was wearing purple tights with nothing underneath.
Okay.
You know what Russ calls that? Tuesday.
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 Yeah,
Oh, okay. And a glittery silver hat, and that's where I parade through the whole parade, and that's where it started.
You must have been a big hit too.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to look at those pictures, but yeah, man, good times.
It happened. That's great.
Is it cool being on the radio in your hometown?
Yeah, definitely, yes, and it's a blessing because
Do you
we live in
realize all
paradise.
4 of us are from San Diego?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often.
And you start radio and finish radio here.
Start.
No
Wow.
podunks.
I don't want to go anywhere. This is paradise.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm still on the radio.
Oh, that's right. We forgot all about you. Money talk. The economy is not the stock market. All right.
The 21st.
Beto Perez. So proud of you, man. Stay here. I want to talk to you some more. Look at that crowd.
Yeah. Look at them
It's a
dreads.
big crowd
18 years.
on the air. Little Tommy, Rusty Nail, Sully, Beto Perez. Stand by.
There's something missing in my day-to-day.
Beto, that's why I'm the agent to the stars. You're the star, and I got your gravy gig. Are you ready for this? Outside, San Diego sunshine, getting a little exercise. You're gonna get exposure, you're gonna get paid, you're gonna get free food, beer, and the costume, Beto. That's right. One word, baby, parade. yeah, 2 syllables. But it's a parade. No, you're not the Grand Marshal. No, it's not the Mother Goose. Yeah, costume. Yeah, well, you're gonna be a disco ball in the Pride Parade. Are you ready? Beto! Beto!
All right, I want to see that last picture. Look at that thing. Oh my goodness.
Who's having a party? Petco?
Beto, that's Petco Park?
That's Petco Park.
What were you doing?
We were that day. I got a chance to DJ and open up for Nelly, and was hosting the concert. Good times.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you say DJ, so that's a whole different category of what you do in your
Yeah.
life. So you DJ with a rap group, correct? Is that how that
Yes.
works? Am I saying that correctly?
He's a pop R&B artist. He's got a couple platinum hits. He's been around
Wow.
he's been around since 2005. Frankie J.
Frankie J.
and you're the guy on stage with him.
This guy on stage with him, man. Lucky enough.
You are like a rock star.
you
Like
know.
that's like rock star status.
That is.
For me, it's work and it's a good time while I get to
How'd that
work.
happen?
I met Frankie through just through the music industry, and we're both from San Diego, and he needed somebody that was going to travel with him out of his hometown, and we have a personal connection. We grew up both in the South Bay. We're both from Tijuana. We both are fans of the same genres of music, and we connected, and it all came together, and there it is.
So where he goes, you go.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's in the music business, and he's seen me play, but not a single phone call. Not like never like, hey, I got a guy I want you to meet. I was like, this is not a thing. That's all right. That's
I know, Sully. I was waiting for you to call me to come DJ, man.
So how's
come to listen. You come with us anytime.
All right,
you should come with us.
That's a whole different way of entertaining.
We should add you.
I'll be the guy holding the flag, or if you want me to crowd surf, I mean,
We've got a big disco ball we want you to wear.
Hey, wait a minute. How's Frankie J doing right now with all that's going on and not being able to go on the road?
No. Well, touring's happened last month. We were in Houston, Texas. That was our very first concert, and it was a drive-in
and there's
concert.
a picture right there, correct?
Yeah, that's somewhere in Texas.
No, there's a drive-in concert, so that's happening. Because Switchfoot did that here just a few months ago as well.
Correct.
So people drove their cars in. That wasn't obviously the same one because people were inside there. But.
Yeah, this is a little town in Texas. I want to say it was Fort
And they're
Worth.
all there.
There's a lot of people there.
The town is empty.
Well, Frankie's the original singer of the Cumbia Kings, which is one of Mexico's biggest boy bands.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's kind of like the Justin Timberlake of Mexico,
Post Menudo.
Yeah. After Menudo. Yes, correct. Yes.
Wow, that's
man,
cool.
good times.
So, and the drive-in concerts, what was that like? Were people outside of their cars? Are they sitting in their cars listening to you on the stereo signal, or how's that work?
So it was set up like a normal concert at a drive-in, and then there's an empty space in between every car, and it's people come hang out. I kind of was digging the fact that they were able to bring in their own food, their own drinks, and if you had a truck, you set up the seats in the back.
Of the truck?
Perfect, you know. So I really like that setup, but everything else was the same, other than doing meet and greets.
Do you think that's the future for a while?
You know what? It's definitely going to be around for the next year or two. And I believe they're planning to do tours of drive-ins. Yeah.
Wow.
Which helps out, the drive-ins because, not a lot of people going to the movies now.
I haven't been to a drive-in.
But here's the good news, though, about that. Because look, we had, 45 dates this year. We were going to play South by Southwest. We were back at Kaboo. We were in a couple places, and they all got canceled. And so what we did is I tried to keep my guys employed by doing those Sully Band Saturdays while the videos were putting up, the Zoom videos and stuff. But at the same time, I will tell you, all the stuff we're getting booked for now is in parking lots, not necessarily concert venues.
Yeah.
There's going to be more. I think there's going to be more entertainment. Obviously, not as many. We're not playing in front of 10,000 people. In some of these summer concert series. But don't you believe every church parking lot is going to turn into a drive-in? Yeah. Every Scripps, for example, we're doing something. Don't you think there's actually more accessible that way in some respects?
I'm all about it. I like it. Yeah. I like the fact that you could go in. It's just an open, wide versus having to be in a venue where
some of those concerts,
crowded.
You're just shoulder to shoulder, and you can't. It's kind of not pleasant to be up close.
Yeah. No, it's exactly right. So overall, top down, 50,000 foot view. Now, because you've got Jammin' 95.7 in the mornings.
Doing mornings, correct.
You've got middays at Rock 105.3.
Rock 105.3, yes.
And you're touring with
Frankie J.
With Frankie J.
Yeah.
What else you got going? What does the next 18 months look like for you?
I DJ on the side, and when I say DJ, is 2 turntables, a mic, and rock the crowd.
See, in the radio business, you got DJs, and then you DJ on the side.
Yeah, so it's DJing is 2 turntables with a mic, and radio personality is more of a jock, a host, radio personality. Then I do cartoon voiceovers as well that I've been doing.
What?
I've been doing this cartoon's called Hella Black Mexican, and it's based on a true story. It's based on a true story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're the voice of the.
I do the narrators, and I do a couple of the male voices.
How do you find those gigs? Not that I would ever even. I'm just curious how that stuff comes to you.
Just knowing people.
Yeah.
Yeah, knowing people
and being nice to them,
right?
As you come across.
Not throwing your headphones.
Right. Stuff like
okay. One time, Carl DeMaio was in the studio with me, and I threw my headphones.
Carl DeMaio.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about radio today? Because I think it's as big as ever. Just different.
Yes, it's different. It's gotten easier as far as the running the boards and playing the music. Because when I started, I literally started the first week. We were still cutting reel to reel.
Yes.
Wow. Then it moved on to carts, and carts were you never knew if it was going to fire off or not.
No. And it looked like it just for your audience. It looked like an old 8-track cassette.
That's just a little bigger. Just a little bigger.
That's what it looked like. It's like bam.
And working with the tapes back then too, you would cut it and then cut out the part you didn't want, and you didn't see it.
Put a piece of tape in there.
And sometimes I would accidentally put it back in upside down or backwards. Oh, and it was like, when you hear it during the song.
They actually had like on the reel-to-reel a little slot there where you could actually take your razor blade and cut through the thing.
Straight or on an angle. You had two choices.
Exactly.
Depending what kind of budget the company had. And then we moved on to CDs, and now everything's digitalized, you know?
Yeah.
But when we were CDs, we had to stay behind the board and literally physically push every element, where now you could walk out for a couple minutes and you're fine. A couple hours.
You can go to another station, do your show, and come back and finish your other show.
Yeah.
Dude, I got to tell you, I'm really proud of you.
That is cool.
Thank you, man.
Killing it. It's
Appreciate
great
it.
to see you. We need to have you come back as your career progresses, because let's face it, your career is progressing.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
The 21st kid. The
Look at
21st
Snoop.
kid.
That's the Beto I remember.
That's cool.
Good old Snoop, man.
Great to see you, man.
Thank you, Sully. Appreciate you guys.
Really
man.
good stuff.
Beto.
Jammin' 95.7 in the morning, Rock 105.3 in the afternoon, and then just Google the guy, because he's gonna be like, all right, on the air. Coming up, another San Diego icon, Coe Lewis, coming up. Oh my goodness! From radio.
All right, let's go.
Climbing the ladder of a radio career to radio royalty.
Yeah.
Coe
Not
Lewis.
me. Coe Lewis is here. Yeah.
Well, Beto, I mean, look at Beto.
He's a tough act to follow.
Well, I have to say, it's just so interesting, and it's so great to see someone who's literally climbed the ladder, and is now in front of 50,000 people.
Yeah. And has 20 siblings.
It has 20 siblings.
Beto is like the best.
And then
about
there is Coe Lewis, who is synonymous with San Diego radio.
An only child. Wow.
Actually, the youngest of three.
Okay, there
and
you go.
the shortest of
Where did
three
you
at
grow up?
6 feet. I was born in Houston, moved overseas, in fact, to Africa first. When I was like 6 or 7. So my formative years were in Africa, where I went to school, and I lived half the week on a game reserve, the Awash Game Reserve.
Wow.
So that's how it all started.
Hence your passion, which we'll talk about
Yeah.
here.
And hence
The
your
Sefu.
shirt.
Yeah. But I lived in Lebanon, Spain, Belgium. I was an exchange student in Saudi Arabia. I've done a lot.
When did you land in San Diego?
I moved back to the States at the end of high school. I went to the University of Kansas, and I came out to San Diego in '85.
No kidding.
Yeah,
And when did you get on the radio?
'86.
How did that
86.
happen? How did that happen?
Well, I was a temp, and I wanted to figure out. I was winding down modeling. I wanted to find my next career, and I was working at a law firm. True story. I hated it, but I would listen to KGB, and I would listen to the crossover between Sue and John. And the girl I was working with, I said, I'm going to work there one day. And I said, I'm going to work in that shift right there. I don't know anything about radio. I know nothing about it. I know a lot about rock music, an unusual amount, kind of, for a normal person. But I said, I'm going to work there. I just have to figure out how I'm going to do it. So I started off at a little broadcast school, and I met Doug Ingold and Brian Main, who are working at KSON.
Brian May, who is the voice of most commercials that you hear on the air to this day.
And they
which,
said,
by the way, we need to have on the air.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's
He's
awesome.
the best. So they're like, you know what? You've got something going on here. And I said, I just want to work at KGB. That's all I know. But how do I get there? And they said, well, why don't you start at KSON? And so I started at KSON as a board op. So I ran all the country crossroads, the country countdowns. I did it all.
Those type
I
of
did
shows.
it all.
Like
but
the rock and
No,
religion.
were you behind the scenes, or were you on air at that time?
I was behind the scenes, and I kept putting an air check together, and I think I wore Mike Shepard out till he finally said, okay, I'll give you a shift. Like, just shut up with the tape.
And at that time, I was working with Doug, and you used to, I think, go out with him.
Yeah.
And that's how I met you. You would visit us at KBS 95.
Yeah.
And I would say, wow, who's that? and because you had, your hair was big, and
Still is.
Let's show one of those big hair days of Coe.
got a few of them.
Because in fact, there was a number that.
I have a lot of big hair days.
Yeah, exactly. Do we have?
We
there
saw
we go.
some.
There you
There's
go.
one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You with
There's my girl Sue.
That's
Sue
Sue
Delaney.
Delaney
That
and
was
Coe Lewis.
done at the San Diego Zoo. Actually, another picture we did a poster raising funds for endangered species and the Humane Society, and we thought we might sell like a couple of posters.
Yes.
And we sold 7,000.
Wow.
Well, yeah.
7,000.
Of course you did.
And the crazy thing is, I would run into people. They're like, "I still have your poster in my
Right.
garage." I'm like, "What? That's crazy." Yeah, it was fun.
So how did you get from KSON to your dream job at KGB?
Well, when I got on air, I started putting air checks together, and I called Ted Edwards, who was a program director at the time, and I said, "Ted Edwards, all I want to do is work at KGB. I will be the best hire you've ever had. I'll work harder than anybody. I'll be so dedicated." And I said, "I know that radio station like the back of my hand." I said, "I can tell you the clocks, the dark side of the moon, what your tracks you're playing." And he was like, probably on the phone, like, "Who is this crazy woman?"
Help.
I said, "I promise you, I just need a chance." So I got an audition for an overnight, and the board was so old that it was a rotary pod board.
Looked like the one we just saw in the picture.
Yeah, that was the board. But nobody told me that the indentations, the markings were gone. So I didn't know the mic was on or off. So it was off for my first 3 breaks.
Oh, sure.
This is my air check, my audition for KGB. There's dead air
Right.
between the songs.
Oh, my gosh.
And so Ted calls me like Monday and he goes, "Coe, I didn't hear anything in the first part of your air check." And I'm like, "Oh, I was there." True story. But I ended up getting hired at the end of '86. So from '85 to '86, I just gunned it to get there, and I had
And
the
you made it.
most amazing career there I could ever
And
ask for.
Well, wait a second. Did you ever work anywhere else other than KGB?
I did. I went across the street to the competitor KCLX to do middays. And I went briefly for KPR when it was a AAA.
Right.
Just because KGB had a different program director. I wasn't really thrilled with him at the time. But then I came back to KGB for a really long stint. Took a break from full-time radio. I was still working there, part-time and filling in. But I sold real estate because I kind of wanted to change. And then I came back for a million years. So I've been there 32 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a legitimate radio
Yeah,
career,
it's
Coe.
pretty crazy.
And your last 2 years at KGB, I had the honor to sit with you and work with you. And it was so fun just being on the radio with you, sitting next to you and hearing music. And then all of a sudden just opening the mics and you would sound like an encyclopedia. You knew everything about every record
Well,
we
and
played.
we gotta talk about that because she is an encyclopedia of music.
Yes.
And has been next to most of your icons
Yes.
in music over the course of the last
I'd say
35 years.
let's quiz her. When we
Okay.
come back, we're going to
Okay.
quiz Coe.
The best I can.
Have you met Journey?
Yes.
Have you met Doobie Brothers?
Yes.
Oh.
Many times.
Awesome.
Stay right there. Coe Lewis on the air.
I don't treat you like a lady. You won't.
Coe Lewis, radio royalty.
Yes.
Studio. There she is, the coaster.
Don't even need the last name.
Taught me everything I know about all the buttons I'm pushing right this second. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
Everything that makes this show sound the way it sounds, Coe taught me.
No.
it's
So I'm the
true.
one to blame.
You can blame all the yes. You can blame all of the nightmares.
I love
Modeling.
Coe.
I didn't even know you had a modeling career prior to
Yeah.
DJing and all
Yeah. I
What
kind
agency?
Of Ford.
Oh, of course, the biggest one. Can I want to name a band and see if you've been next to them.
Okay.
that. Okay.
Rolling Stones.
Yes, and it was amazing because they were incredibly polite, very professional, and when they were with you,
There they are.
they were talking directly to you,
No kidding.
and were genuinely happy you were there. I was
Yeah.
so impressed with the Stones.
Kiss.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
that wasn't the band he'd like to.
You get one after the
So
show.
you met Kiss.
Yes, several times, yeah.
Does anyone email you or text you to hit on you? Let's say Don Felder.
Don.
Don Felder.
Wow.
I'm embarrassed. No, I know. I feel no. It's,
What about
Don
Don
Felder
Henley?
likes you.
It's happened.
Have you
stuff.
met Don Henley?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and I'll tell you, I was
Nice guy?
I was afraid to meet him because he's really prickly and he just has a reputation of being really tough.
Yeah.
And I thought, so all of a sudden somebody says, "Hey, you wanna meet Don Henley?" And I'm like, "Okay." I honestly didn't think I was going to meet him. I was doing the broadcast there, and he was like, "Hey, come on in." We ended up speaking 20 to 30 minutes about everything.
Yeah.
And he was asking me about my career, and I'm like, "What?"
And now, is there anyone that you wish you'd met that you never got to meet, or did you?
I haven't not met Jimmy Page.
Really?
Which I'm
surprised because you know more about Led Zeppelin than any person
pretty much,
that
yeah,
should know.
pretty much.
Wow.
I'm bummed. I've not met him, and I hope one day, someday.
But you're into Robert Plant, right?
Oh,
He's
I love
everything.
Robert Plant so much.
Have you
I
ever
love him so
spoke with
much.
him or met him?
Yes, and one of the greatest days of my life was my girlfriends and I were going to show. He was talking to Mike Halloran on another station, and Mike Halloran for some reason brought up, "Hey, so do you know anybody here in San Diego?" And he said, "As God is my witness," he goes, "I met," his words, "a lovely blonde DJ, and
Wow.
she was a lot of fun." And Halloran says, "Is her name Coe?" And you can hear him like kind of being, like, "What?" And he goes, "Yes, that's it." He goes, "She's in real estate now." And it was just, I literally was looking at the radio with my friends and I thought, I'm having an out-of-body experience
right.
at this exact moment.
Yeah.
Like he even remembered who the hell I was.
Wow,
It was
right.
amazing.
That's
It was a
great.
greatest moment of my life.
So you're backstage with a lot of rock stars. I mean, on KGB, this biggest station ever. Have you ever met a rock star and maybe their girlfriend or wife said, "Hey, hey, honey, stay away from that beautiful blonde over there"?
I had
ahead.
quite a few of those experiences. It was really, and it really kind of bummed me out because I always took my job very seriously. I wanted to be a professional.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be that kind of girl. I just never have been. And I had wives come up like absolutely not speaking to him,
Wow.
or like looming over me. Like, what do you mean by? I mean, really.
And you were just doing your radio.
I
job.
was. I'm like, you know what? I'm just here to do a job. I'm not hitting on your guy, and he's all yours. He's all yours.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I've had that a few times, and it was really uncomfortable. It made it uncomfortable for everybody. The promoter, the band, everyone. I'm like, oh, okay, this is awkward.
And through the years, you became friends with many people. Like you can pick up the phone and call Def Leppard.
Yeah.
How did that happen, and how does that feel?
Well, that relationship, KGB's had a very tight relationship with Def Leppard. They played Sky Show. That was the first stadium that they ever played. So we had a great relationship with them. And I did my show from London in Abbey Road Studios for a week.
Oh.
And I'm,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to name drop that way, but I had the pleasure and opportunity and honor of doing that. And I met Phil Collin there, and we just got along famously. And turns out he lives up the road. And I said, you know what? You got to come down and do a show with me one time. He goes, all right. I'll do it.
That was
and
it.
my God, he did. So we've done several shows together. And because of him, I know the other guys. And they're a lovely bunch of people.
You know, when you got in radio, it was radio that made some of these people. There was no social media. There was no Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music. It was relationships. And you guys had to like the music to get these things going.
Yeah, we
What was it
launched
like
a lot
then?
of careers. It was really nice to be there and see a band take off that you knew. Because KGB in its day, in its real heyday, would be one of, if we added an artist, then the rest of the country would add the artist.
Right.
We were very pioneering,
Influencer.
very influential,
Yeah.
and so we launched a lot of careers. Scorpions, Motley Crue,
George
Guns N' Roses,
Thorogood.
Thorogood, Van Halen. They all know that KGB was very impactful. And like I said with Def Leppard on their documentary says, we played the stadium for KHB, and everything changed after that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. And what's really interesting is to watch how you have molded careers, not only in this room, but also there.
Did you just say I have a moldy career?
Yeah, Russ does have,
Hold on.
because he was big
Just
in the
a little
80s,
mold.
and now he's
Big, and he's 80.
he's 80.
What a great job.
But you know what? What you're doing now is even more impactful, I think, of what's going on.
Yes.
We're going to talk a little bit about that coming up. Coe Lewis, can you believe she's on the air?
Right there.
Right there in front of you from KGB,
Coe Lewis.
the coaster. There she is, the iconic radio personality. All right, give us a second. We're going to talk to you about what else she's doing. Stand by.
Yes, that's correct. Masks are no longer required while underwater or skydiving. Outdoor dining requires a mask while you're going to the table but not at the table. Order a drink at a bar, you must continually move. If you do not continually move when you order that drink, it will be quarantined for 20 minutes, then you can have that cocktail. Now, you may have many symptoms. When you are sick, you'll know it, but you can also get sick without the symptoms. You have symptoms without being sick, or you can be contagious without having symptoms. Questions?
You know, I've never been on the radio. Well, I shouldn't say that. I started my radio career with a partner. Okay, I mean, when I first got in the air, I was with a partner, and then it wasn't until, gosh, I was on for 15 years or so before I did talk radio by myself. But you were by yourself the entire time until the end of your career.
Yeah, the end of my career, and I was teamed up with Brian Schock for a while doing mornings, and then with Bob Buckman. And,
I love Buckman.
Oh my God, I love both of them. They're like my brothers. And
Hey, there's a Buckman.
Yeah, look at who's that guy on the right-hand side there.
Yeah.
You know, you produced for them for the last couple of years.
Yeah,
correct?
I produced Bob and Co. and Co. And it was the best time of my life because KGB was the station I grew up listening to.
Yeah.
So to be able to work there and to work with Co., who I used to call and request songs, you know, with,
And
I loved it.
Buckman was the program director for the very famous Mark and Brian up at KLOS. Is that right?
He was KLOS and Q104 in New York, and so he came out here, and in 1 second we sat down and we're like, okay, this is totally going to work.
I
we
love
were
that guy.
just
That
like-
guy was such a super
Look
nice
at
guy.
that.
What is he doing
we just had
now?
the best time. He's actually the program director for the classic rock stations at Sirius.
What's
No
Sirius
kidding.
XM? I don't know what that is.
I've
heard of that, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, he's doing fine. We talk all the time, and yeah, it's interesting how
good.
our careers have changed so dramatically.
So Coe and I talked a little while ago about doing a fundraiser for because she was on the Big Biz show with Rusty and I, and you know, and it goes back to the very first story you talked about, and that's growing up not in the U.S.
Correct.
Growing up where?
In Africa,
And
in
what is-
Ethiopia.
and that gave you a passion for what?
I've had a calling for wildlife my entire life, even before I moved to Africa. And I had just been feeling really restless. I felt like God had really been putting it on my heart. And I just said, okay, if you want me to do this, then you got to help me because this is a big undertaking. So 5 years ago, through KGB, through a listener, he said, you've got to talk to my wife. We have a safari camp in Zambia, and I know you lived in Africa, and I know you love wildlife. So we talked, and I kept thinking about her, and so we met Christmas of 2014, and we just talked about what was happening in Africa. I mean, extinction is happening on such a
Right.
catastrophic
Right.
scale right now, and I just couldn't sit idly by because when I was on this game reserve as a kid, there were millions upon millions upon millions of elephants, tons of rhinos,
Right.
a couple of million rhinos.
Sure. Yeah.
And now we have about 300,000 elephants left, and we have about 30,000 rhinos left.
So you created Nasefu.
Nasefu Wildlife is the sector that we work in Zambia. We're 5 years old, and I'm very proud to say that we've dropped poaching 70%.
And there it is, NSEFU.
Yeah.
Wildlife Conservation, and Nasefu.org is where
Yeah.
people can get involved and they can donate money and so on.
And again, that number is pretty good. 70% drop in poaching because of what you've been
Yeah,
doing.
we work right side by side with the Zambia National Parks Department, And we just do everything differently. We don't have a lot of money, so we have to be really creative, really
Right.
industrious. We just think out of the box. So we tackle poaching from all angles. And because of it, we are blowing the doors off of other groups out there that have tons of
That is
money.
fantastic.
Do you go in to like re-educate the locals? and
Yeah,
say,
you
it's
have
not
to
okay to
educate,
shoot these big beasts.
Educate, economics, all of it.
Yeah.
Educate, you build schools for them.
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
us about that.
Well, when my father passed away, I honored him by building a classroom, which is the school for Shabuera. And that's when I was there when the school was being dedicated. And now we're working with a wonderful group called Park Lane, and we're going to be building the first secondary school. So that's
goodness.
grades 8 through 12 in the region, and everybody's elated.
We
so.
need an auction right now.
Yeah, we do.
The band on stage, get the
been out of
auction
work for
going.
some
Of course, we
time.
make it all about us. don't
Come
we?
on, that's right.
I got to ask before we let you out of here today. It's been such a pleasure, and you're such an. I want you to come back so we can spend hours with you.
I love
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
You're not off the mic completely.
No,
You're not
and-
off the mic completely at all, are you? Let's talk about
No, I
this.
started a podcast called.
cool.
It's called Coexist. Get it?
Great.
That's
her name,
Exist. See what you did there?
Yeah, get it? And
Good
it's a conversation for conservation. And not only will we be discussing what Nsephu Wildlife's been doing, but we're going to help organizations around the world with conservation.
We think you
We're
should
really in
do. We think you
critical
should do a
mass.
video podcast, and we'll donate the studio for you to do it. I think.
Seriously?
I think.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, my
100%.
God.
Yeah, because people. You need to do both formats. You're doing good here, and I can't tell you what. I mean, when you were on Big Biz Show, we got 50, 60 emails after
like
after
Really?
coming on there. Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
And it
We
was,
call you our co-star. Get it?
Yes,
See
exactly.
what I did
got
there?
it.
Because it's
Yeah.
So yeah. So what? And would you ever consider doing either radio again or podcasting, where you're interviewing some of those relationships you have in music again? Because
Yeah, I would love to.
I think you should.
I would love to. Yeah, I have to tell you, the past few months have been a little odd. You
Yeah,
know,
sure.
I kind of
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like like so many events have happened. I'm like, I can't talk about
Yeah.
it. But yeah, the conservation I want to do, but I still miss that other part. I kind of feel like I've lost a couple of limbs, and I still miss it. I think I have a lot to offer.
You ever going
still.
back?
I don't know.
Would you go back?
Radio has changed. I've
has.
said it before. I don't know if there's a place for me.
Let's make a place for
Of
Coe.
course there is. Wait a minute. Of course there's a place for you. You know what? Yes, I've worked with Jeff and Jerry for 30 years, but the highlight of my career was the last 2 years working with Coe Lewis. It really is.
How about a concert with Def Leppard
Yeah.
for wild animals and
Yes.
see the leopard
Yeah, the
thing?
leopard.
What?
See the leopard.
I'm done here.
Wow.
I've done my job.
Coe
Thank you, Coe.
Lewis. Coe
right.
Lewis.
Coe, thank you so much. We'll see you
Thank
next
you
time.
so much.
Love you. Love you.
Yeah.
Feeling quite sick. I felt like there was something